everyone, welcome to today's event, and I'd like to say thank you everyone who's turned up and who's here to engage with the system. I'm Joe Holmes and I'm hosting today's VP Student Experience debate on behalf of Rebel Essex, and I'm joined by candidate Olivia Matthews. Now, if you've got any questions while we're going along, please send them to Jenny, the moderator, in today's chat. All questions in the chat will go to her and she'll be moderating the chat and to make sure the questions are appropriate. I'm going to start off by asking Olivia to introduce herself. She'll have 1 minute to do that, and we've got 2 questions she's been able to prepare for, which she will be able to answer very soon, and she's got 2 minutes for those questions. And I've also got some other questions for her, as well as any questions that we feel that you put through in the chat and are worthwhile answering, and I'd love to take your questions, so please engage with today's event. So Olivia Matthews is this year's candidate for VP Student Experience. Firstly, Olivia, could you please introduce yourself within a minute of what you're studying, who you are, and what your name is and what year you're in, please?
Yeah, hi Joe, I'm Liv Matthews and I actually graduated last summer from a 4-year degree in economics with placement year, and I'm the current VP Student Experience.
Thank you very much, that covers it. And you've got 2 minutes for these upcoming questions, and I will be timing you, and I'll give you a 10-second countdown near the end to make sure we're all okay. Now, there's no liability, and I've got a stopwatch to make sure this process is standardised. Now, what would you bring to the role?
Okay, so straight up, it's going to be the experience required. Students have been robbed this year of their full student experience because of the pandemic, and I want to see it back in the full. This role has been highly affected, and I've had the experience navigating it through the pandemic while also having 4 years as a student being actively involved in the SU activities. I know the VP experience role is so much more than just supporting Blades clubs, societies and V-Team, and I have this knowledge because of my experience. The position also encompasses Rebel, Raising and Giving, Just Play and Employability, which are all fantastic and significant opportunities as part of your life as a student. On top of that, my personal strengths are organisation, being a team player, and I believe I have what it takes to facilitate students coming together across all of our campuses. And with my strategic thinking and problem-solving skills, this will mean that I'm the best student experience candidate, and when your student experience is being challenged, I'll be there to advocate and support students so we can achieve the best experience for you.
Perfect, thank you, Olivia. And what do you think is the biggest issue facing students right now?
Yeah, so from hearing from students and working so closely with SU Activities welfare officers and VP welfare, I quite frankly believe the top issues are mental health and well-being, as well as financial difficulties. This year they've been exacerbated due to the pandemic, and with elements of COVID through online learning, loneliness and Brexit all compiled onto the difficulties that students face daily, I believe these are the priority areas and a lot more can and should be done. So the welfare services are strained, and we know this is because support is needed, and we've got great resources like SU Advice and Swiss, and it's paramount importance that students are aware of the support they've got available and that we're making sure we're keeping up in delivering that support. Secondly, there are studies that show for years that physical and mental health work so closely hand in hand, and that's something I'm really passionate about. And Bucks themselves have done a study in this, and good mental health is something, again, I'm passionate about, as poor mental health affects academic attainment, as well as all the additional stresses of COVID this year. And it's a big struggle for students, and I really believe it's something we need to target as it contributes to so many other things.
Thank you, Olivia. And what do you think sport clubs need to help them transition back into physical training, competition and socials?
Okay, so the return and recovery is something, I speak about my manifesto, but it's something I'm really passionate about. It's not going to be a light switch moment. Clubs have missed, at this point, almost a year of competitive fixtures and training. And with that comes the support that clubs need in training, whether it's a pre-season, in just organising their committee, as sports clubs are student-led, and that's what makes them so great. So it's about working with sports clubs, supporting them, making sure they've got aided opportunities, whether it comes to recruitment is going to be a big thing, as what a third year students next year will have only have had 3/4 of a student experience back in their first year because we have missed a year and a half. And It's about working with executive committee, which is the Essex Blades, as well as individual clubs, and advocating on students' behalf when at times it's challenging, as the university and Essex Sport have different views.
Thank you very much, Olivia. And how do you think volunteering could be supported by the VP Student Experience role to ensure that volunteers gain impactful skills development?
Yeah, so this has been a great year for V Team as they've expanded over to Southend, and that's great because it includes all our students across campuses, and volunteering and V Team is all about giving back to the community, and that's not just the Essex student community but the wider communities. As being a student, getting involved. I'm passionate about the expansion of V Team, again across campuses, but also the projects offered, whether it's through one-off projects or opportunities for other sports clubs and societies to get involved working with V Team. At times, students forget that volunteering is a lot more than just going to specific events and projects that are run. It's about being an exec, it's about being an SEO, it's about being an ISA member. Volunteering, students do so much of, and at times they forget. So I'm really passionate about, the record-breaking stuff V Team does, but the number of students who are actively involved in volunteering and how we can increase that.
Now, how do you think VP Student Experience should keep students updated with their work?
Okay, so I do believe that your time socially at university is just as important as your degree. And that's from my personal time as a student. I spent a lot of time engaged in SU activities, maybe more than sometimes I spent on my degree, but it's about the enjoyment and the experience you get outside. The VP Student Experience role also includes employability, and being involved in SU activities builds those skills that go outside your academic achievements. But being involved actively in clubs and societies and V Team is shown to have positive effects on students' mental health. I spoke earlier about the physical and mental health links, and having those escapes at times, but positive outlets, and the community, the family, the feeling that comes around meeting students and having that similar interest, which is activities, creates that closer Essex community for students, which in turn aids academic performance and at times keeps students at university. And having that support structure is really important, as education is tough, a degree is really tough, and you need those people around you, which SU activities and your student experience brings.
Perfect, thank you, Olivia. And yes, it's so important. And what positives do you think we can take away from the really tough year we've had? Although it's been tough, what positives do you think we can take away from it?
Yeah, so I'm going to be totally honest, this year has been really tough. It has really impacted the student experience. The phrase that students have been robbed is something I'll continue to say because it's been really tough. I know how hard execs have worked this year, and that's all going against what normally is. It's normally about in-person events, bringing people together. So many traditions and opportunities haven't been able to take place because of COVID. And with this, it's about bringing this back. It's about facilitating it and making sure students get the best opportunity. I'm really passionate about this, and it's really important it comes back.
Perfect, thank you, Olivia. And how do you think societies next year could be supported to encourage more membership?
Yeah, so with recruitment's one of my key 5 words for societies. So they are diversity, representation, growth, recruitment, and support. So focusing on recruitment here, it's going to be a big feat, and I think we can do a lot more earlier. So the point of rerunning means that we don't miss that summer opportunity. I'll be here looking closely with execs and how we can facilitate the growth and recruitment. This means bringing forward social media posts, social awareness. When new students find out that they're Essex students on results day in August, we can do a lot more earlier. We are lucky we go back in October, but from August to October, this is crucial time in spreading the word about our fabulous societies that we've got. And then it's about keeping communication consistent throughout the year, using social media platforms more, but also the channels that we have at the university, partnering cultural societies with the ISA, combining faith societies, linking them up with student community officers, and really bringing together different aspects of the Essex student community in raising the profile of these societies. Because it's so easy to form a society, we can keep them representing students with their current interests, not just historic interests, in really representing the student body and facilitating growth.
Thank you very much, and that's all for questions today. Thank you for coming and answering the questions. I really appreciate it. We've just got one last one that Jenny sent to me. How do you think the VP role should work with the Parliament?
Yeah, this is, I'm new to Parliament, so this has been my first year sitting on SU Parliament, so it's been a learning opportunity for me as well. We have Blades, Societies, V-Team and Rebel representatives that can sit on Parliament, and what has been really useful this year is in meeting with Societies reps in order to meet with them regularly to bring this through. We have a Blades executive committee, but not in Societies, and this could be something we look at, but also utilising the reps which are engaged students in hearing from them more often and more regularly. With the wider range of Parliament, it's about bringing my updates to the table, but also discussion points about the student experience, because it is more than just SU activities, but we know a lot of students are also involved in SU activities as well as being on Parliament, because it's all about the democracy and hearing from the entire student body.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. And what do you think is the best way for the VP student experience to engage and communicate with students?
So there's no one way to communicate. I think this is something that I've been passionate about, but also learning a lot. So at times there are different platforms that fit different messages. One thing I've really enjoyed about this year is the platform Zoom has, that we can easily put on general meetings and update meetings. You're not having to fit hundreds of students in a room to give them an update as exec. You can organise a Zoom call and you can do it from the comfort of home. Having more regular updates with students for big pieces of information, making sure we're keeping the slides and the information accessible on the website is really important. Emails for important bits of information, but also utilising social media, as that's where a lot of students spend the majority of their time. So things like the SU Activities Facebook group, Instagram, social platforms and Twitter, where the message is appropriate, using those platforms, but keeping communication as open as possible so students know what's going on.
Thank you so much for answering our questions today, Olivia. I really appreciate it. You now have 1 minute to explain why people should summarise why they should vote for you.
If it hasn't come across already, I'm so passionate about the student experience. It's going to be my 6th year here at Essex, but I've spent a lot of that time involved in SU activities. It meant so much to me during my degree, and with my sheer passion, determination and belief that socially your time at university is as important as your degree, hand in hand with my experience, I believe that I'm the best candidate for the role, and you should think pink and vote Liv Matthews for your VP student experience.
Thank you, Liv Matthews, for joining us today as the candidate for VP Student Experience. Now, voting opens on the 10th at 10 a.m. and closes on the 12th. I have to add that there is another candidate, and that is to reopen nominations. But if you do want to support Liv, then make sure you do vote for her when voting opens and before voting closes. And there's more debates this week, so please come along and engage with those debates. Take part, ask questions, and don't forget to vote. I'm Joe Holmes, hosting this event on behalf of the SU election and Rebel Essex. I'd like to thank viewers, anyone who's come along, anyone who's asked a question. I'd like to thank Liv for coming here today as a candidate.